My name is Tennyson Stead. This is the 8-Sided Blog. Last week we talked a good bit about how I kept my career moving forward as a disabled person. This week I'd like to talk about how I kept my career moving forward as a homeless person. There's obviously a lot of commonalities and a lot of problems that come up socially that I think homeless people and disabled people can connect on. Just the social stigma is a real factor, and it's going to have an impact on any career. But again, you let go of those things, you move forward. Let's talk about it. The biggest sort of similarity, I think, between success as a disabled person and success as a homeless person is that you have to compartmentalize everything. In the case of being a homeless person, you need to compartmentalize your needs. Okay? You need to understand that just because you're going to bed hungry doesn't mean you failed in your goals. You need to understand that because you're cold at night, or because people are looking at you wrong, or because you're not getting the respect that you need as a human being, that doesn't mean you failed in your career over the course of that day. It's really, really, really important to take all the individual things that you need over the course of any given day, and you need to address them as individual things. You can't group them together and then look at whether you have them or don't have them and gauge your success based on that, because you will destroy your own ego in that process. Your sense of self will melt in the face of that kind of heat. So instead, you take a look at each of the little bitty things. Maybe, if you're hungry, maybe you're not cold. And in either case, did you get your writing done? Did you get your 2 pages in as a screenwriter? Did you manage to meet all your professional obligations that day? When you're trying to get work, when you're talking to people about your career, when you are engaging the rest of the film community, it's really important to keep those things compartmentalized, because otherwise you're going to let your desperation seep into the work that you're actually doing and the communications that you're having. It's one thing to be hungry. It's one thing to be cold. It's another thing to put that pressure onto a production or put it on another individual. How we treat homeless people in this country is wrong and shameful. And at the same time, there is no one person in this country who is going to be willing to take responsibility for that problem. And the simple truth is, if we try and get someone to take responsibility for that problem in any way, shape, or form, while at the same time working on a motion picture, we're going to get fired. It's a simple fact. So making sure that our physical needs, that our emotional needs are taken care of independently of the other communications that we're having. You can't expect the relationships that you're building at work to be relationships that support you emotionally through the kind of trauma that you're going to experience if this is the life that you're living. And you have to be realistic about that. You need to make sure that you at least have a plan for meeting those emotional needs, because otherwise you are going to wind up leaning on people who simply refuse to have time. And it's important that you go into your professional relationships not necessarily protecting people from the reality of your life, but protecting them from the urgency and the overwhelming nature of the other needs that you have in your life. That absolutely is not their responsibility. It's our responsibility, and we need to make sure that we're addressing those things individually. That's why compartmentalization is important. And I'm here to tell you, that's going to help you in every aspect of your life. That is not just a thing for homeless people trying to succeed in entertainment. Once you understand that, and once you're there, you need to start prioritizing. You need to prioritize health and safety. Your life has to be sustainable, okay? You need to make sure that when you go to work on whatever it is, whether it's your screenwriting, or whether you're going to rehearsals or auditions or whatever the case may be, you need to make sure that you're not more worn out tomorrow than you are today. You need to make sure that you are maintaining a standard of health that is going to make your career sustainable. I'm not saying you have to live in a home or anything else, but I am saying you need to make sure that you create a situation where you're not losing ground to anything that's going to have a detriment on your performance. If people are offering you money, take it. Take it. If someone, and this is again, this is not just for homeless people. This is a lesson I learned from homelessness. If somebody is offering you cash and there are no strings attached, they're just trying to give you some money to help you with your life, I don't care how proud you are stupid not to take that money. I don't care if there's emotional strings attached. Take the money and then don't take the phone call. Finally, it's really important that you only commit to things that you know you can actually follow through with, given the sustainability of the situation that you're in. There's a lot you can do, and it's important to know where those boundaries are. While I was homeless, I wrote a tentpole feature. I wrote a tentpole feature for a company that had the film in active development. I stepped in and saved a production. You know, and I wrote it very fast. I was working 12, 14-hour days, and I got it done while I was sleeping in a car in the dead of winter with no heat and with very minimal food. It's achievable, but you have to understand where the line is between what you can do by pushing yourself a little extra and what's just not going to happen with the resources that you have. What I couldn't have done is hopped in the car and driven 200 miles to help someone with their production. It would have been great if I could promise that, but I did not have the resources. I didn't have the gas money. There's a million things I would have fallen out from under me if I had tried to fulfill a promise like that, even though on some level, it's actually not as impressive as what I was actually able to do. I sold a screenplay. I got married while I was homeless. I had a wedding. We had family in town while I was homeless. And the way that I was able to do all this was by compartmentalizing my needs and making sure when I engaged people that I didn't bring the desperation and the problems from one part of my life into the other conversations that I was having. You know, I met my mother-in-law at the wedding that I had while I was homeless. And it worked out. She found out, I think maybe a year ago, that all this was going on. She didn't know at the time. She had no clue that this was going on. And I'm not saying you need to hide it necessarily, but what you need to do is make sure that the support that you're providing other people is unconditional. You need to make sure that in order to get help from you, other people don't need to deal with the problems that you're dealing with. Because the truth is they don't know how. They can't. And it's not to say they couldn't learn. It seems overwhelming to them now. If they were in the situation you're in, they'd adapt in many of the same ways. So ultimately, you know, I do not subscribe to the idea of, oh, I could never, blah, blah, blah. Someone who says that is just afraid to put themselves in your shoes. They're not thinking it through. And if you're dealing with these kinds of problems, the thing that I want to kind of leave you with is the fact that the success that you build is going to define how people see you. When I'm talking about these kinds of problems, even now, if you're watching this video, you're looking at someone who's a successful script doctor, you're looking at someone who's producing a movie. There's a lot of things going right in my life right now, and there's a lot of reasons why people might want to emulate my life. So when I talk about the homelessness, when I talk about the brain damage, people throw it in this kind of inspiration category. They talk about it as though I've overcome, you know, adversity, and now they can too. They see it as a sign ultimately that they're going to be successful because I've been successful, and maybe they don't have to deal with as much. They take it as heartening news. When I was disabled, when I was homeless, especially homeless, I gotta tell you, nobody was looking at me. I was not a human being at that time to 97% of the people in my life. Even the people close to me, you know? Only a handful of people, a tiny handful, continued treating me like a person. And the truth is, they look at me now and they see the kind of success that's worth emulating. They see someone that they admire, and they don't connect the person I was then with the person I am now. They certainly don't understand that it's the habits that were keeping me alive then and the habits that were getting my work done then that are making me successful now. The point is that the dehumanization and the lack of privilege that I experienced because of my economic troubles, my physiological troubles, did not persist in my life beyond the immediate moment when they were obvious to the people around me. When people engage me now, they engage me as an equal. That's not going to be true for everyone because I'm a white male, right? But if there's struggles that you're dealing with, and if you're being dehumanized because of where you are in your career and because of the challenges that you're facing economically, I want you to understand that success will take those dehumanizations away, and they will take those impressions away. I want you to understand achieving your goals and reaching success is going to eliminate those power relationships from your life. There may be other power relationships that don't die as easily, but there may be other power relationships that don't die as easily. I think this is a pretty good place to end it. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos and if you're getting something out of them, please click the like button. Please click the subscribe button, and please definitely click the little bell because that's how you get your alerts to find out when there's a new video on YouTube. And, if you want to find me and talk about any of this stuff, you can find me on Twitter or Stage 32 or right here on YouTube, and those links are in the description. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.